You're listening to In Between Podcast. We're your hosts, Sarah and Celeste. This week's episode is the twists and turns of Celeste's birth story. Get ready to laugh along with us.
And so I was like, yeah, I think we need to go on home. And so in the car is when my contractions would just like be so intense because I couldn't walk through them and I couldn't move through them. And so I'd have to like sit and like try to move.
Yeah.
Very, very uncomfortable. Like I was really struggling in the car.
Regretting your choices.
Yeah.
Your pre-choices.
Yeah. And so we make it home and I'm like, I'm going to sit on my pregnancy ball and like we're going to keep these things going. So Brandon called Carla and was like, hey, these things are a lot closer than you need to come back over here. And she was like, okay. And so I'm sitting on my ball and we watched Psych. We watched 2 Psychs.
2 episodes?
Yeah, 2 episodes. They're like 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm still contracting like 2 minutes apart, about a minute.
If that was your second child, you would have been already.
Yeah, I would have already.
Yeah.
Which I knew I was starting out at no dilation either. So
Right,
like, I
that's
had a
true.
ways to go.
Yeah.
And so we watched 2 Psychs. My doula came back to my house. Brantley's already got the bag in the trunk.
Yeah. I was about to say, he's probably like standing by the door, like, we need to go.
He's like, you just tell me and we're going. Like, we're getting you there. And I was like, I'm just worried about going to the hospital. I was like, because I'm like stall again.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like worried because I've heard stories through my research that you can stall again once you get to the hospital because just all like your environment changes. And I wanted to linger at home as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know where my dilation was at home. So I wanted to push it as long as I could.
I gotcha.
But at this point, I knew I couldn't run the car. Like, because I was into it in the car. Because if I was out of the car, I could move around. I was on my balls.
So what was the plan?
Well, I was like, what should I do? Because I didn't want to be in the car once my contractions got to a point where, like, I had to move. So I talked it out with Brantley and my doula, and they were like, because, I mean, I was pacing at this point.
Yeah.
I would have to stop talking and, like, breathe through my contraction and then pick up the conversation again. So Carla was like, I think, if you don't want to be in the car anymore like this, like, you need to get onto the hospital. So I was like, okay. So we get in the car. The ride there was pretty rough. My hospital, which we called them, told me we're coming. We get there, but they checked me to see how far I'm dilated, and I was only at a 2. And I was like, that is bull.
Like, check again. Like, I'm not waiting.
And they were like, you might not really be in labor. And I was like, I'm in labor. Like, by this point, my contractions were like lasting a solid minute, and then anywhere between a minute and 2 minutes apart. And by this point, it's like 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
By the time I get to triage and I get all
the process, man.
So they checked me at like 9:10, and they're like, you're not really showing that you're in labor other than your contractions. You're not really that far, blah, blah, blah. It's your first one. Could be a lot longer. And I'm like, and also they would let Carla and my doula back there. It was just me and Brantley. And I was like, I didn't like, we're going to stay.
Why would they let Carla back here?
They only wanted one person because the rooms were so small. Because it was triage.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And so they were like, you can stay in the triage area for 2 hours without my doula. Just Brantley. And you can sit here with the monitor on and everything. And in 2 hours, if we check you, if you progress, then we'll check you in. That was the longest 2 hours of my life. Because I was contracting 2 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute every time. I couldn't sit down. And I was having back labor. Okay, so Brantley was literally doing everything he could for me. And like squeezing my back, doing all the holds and everything. They came back, checked me in 2 hours, and I dilated all another 2 centimeters.
Oh, good. I was like, now do they realize that you were?
Yeah,
laboring?
now they're like,
You're
okay, we can check you in now. While I was in triage, they checked in like 4 other people. And I was, because I could hear, and I was like, how far is she? And I was like, she's only at this, but it was like her like 30th, 4th.
Oh,
So,
you know,
anyways, he's dropping. And so they finally get us in, and my nurse is like getting everything together. They get us in a room, and I was like, my birth plan is for me to labor in a tub. And I was like, I need that tub to be filling up right now. Like, it should have been filling up when I came through the doors, but like, it should be filling up. And she was like, the tubs take so long to fill up. And she was like, but we have another room, but it's kind of like a dungeon because there's no window. And she was like, and some people just don't feel comfortable down there because there's no window. And she was like, so I can bring the inflatable one and we can try to do that one. She's like, but most people are done having their baby by the time we get that thing filled up. And also, at my hospital, we had to get out at 6 centimeters. She was like, most of the time, by the time it gets filled up, people can't even get in it because they're too dilated. And I was like, I need a tub, like, now.
like, just give me the tub. Like,
Yeah. And so she was like, okay, we can go to the dungeon room. Literally. Like,
is that what she said?
yeah, like, she was like, okay, we can go in there.
Okay.
So then she had to clear it with the doctor on call that I could get in the tub, whatever. They filled up that other tub. And when I say it was a tub, like, it was like to our chest tall.
Like a baptism?
Yeah. It was huge. It was very huge. I had to like climb a little ladder to like get into it.
Yeah.
So obviously they didn't want me having the baby in there because like nobody could get to me. Because it was a huge tub.
Was it really a dungeon looking room?
Yeah, there was no windows. So by the time I get checked in and everything and I get into a tub, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Oof. By that point, my contractions were on top of each other. And Brantley was falling asleep.
Of course.
Yeah. He was really trying to be so supportive. And I finally got into the tub.
Okay.
And he was like rubbing my back. And at this point, I'm finally getting some relief because I'm in the water and getting some relief from my contraction, especially back contraction. And he was rubbing my back.
Is this a wide? I gotta get my like vision. Okay. Is it a wide bathtub or like?
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Okay, it was big. Yeah, but just deep.
Yeah,
or
it was just huge. I don't know how it's
not like pictured as like really far and like no one could get to you, but like okay.
I didn't have like Brantley touching my back.
And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
So like the water came up to about my chest with me on my knees.
Okay, so that is really deep though.
I could lay completely down if I wanted to in the tub, like
I'm
be like floating.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So like it would have been hard to get somebody out, but like I was next to the edge, so like he could like touch.
I got you.
The nurses could get to me.
I got you.
So Brandon was like rubbing my back or whatever, and then he just stopped, and I know he's asleep when he starts twitching, and his hand would start twitching, and I was like, go to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, you're no help to me. If you're tired, I was like, I need you to go lay down, rest, and get some rest. I was like, that's why I have Carla, my doula. I was like, go to sleep. I was like, because I don't want you to be falling asleep when I'm pushing, you know? Like, that's what I really
You're doing great.
Yeah. So he was like, no, I'm not going to sleep. And I was like, go to sleep now. And the nurse and Carla were like, go to sleep. So he went and lay down.
Mm-hmm.
He slept for like an hour to an hour and a half. And
you're just
literally as soon as he left though, my contractions, like, I never got a break. And when I say I never got a break, like literally like I can breathe and then they come again. Carla, my doula, was like, is that another one? Like, is that another one? Because I mean, it's almost like they never stopped.
And that is crazy.
Yeah, like they're continuing. And I was trying different positions in the tub. At this point, I was getting really tired. Yeah, guys.
well, you've been in so much pain for like so long.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. So the next nurse came in. They're like, can we check you? Because we do have to get you out at like so many centimeters or whatever. And I was like, yeah, check me. Well, obviously they couldn't really get to me because I was in the tub. So they were kind of like guessing how far I was because like they couldn't really tell. So they were like, I think you're at like 5. And I was like, it's been hours.
Like, are you sure?
And I was at 4 when I was admitted.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I think you're at 5. And I was like, okay. So then the nurse was like, I'm going to give you another hour and then we can check you again, or you can just get out of the tub because you have to get out at this somebody. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of being in the tub at this point. Like, I'm like preemie at this point.
Like, it's been a really long time.
Yeah, because I got in around 2 or 1.
Yeah.
1 in the morning. And I got out around like 4. So I'd been in it for like 3 hours.
Gee.
Hey, so I was like, yeah, I'll get out. So I got out, which I was worried about walking because, I mean, I was kind of a noodle at that point from being in the water. And so I was like, I really have my legs work. So once I made it to the bed, I was really nervous about standing up again.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, I made it to the bed. Yeah, but my back labor was so intense and really like laying down was just miserable.
Yeah.
So my doula was like suggesting a lot of different things. Again, my contractions were literally, I wasn't getting a break. Brantley woke up and kind of gave Carla a break. And they were suggesting a lot of different things to me. And they would be like, can you do this? Like, can you get on all 4s or do you want to stand up? And then the contraction would hit and I couldn't respond to it. And it was taking so much mental work for me to breathe through my contractions and everything that I couldn't respond. And then by the time they asked me a question. So it took like forever for me to like get into different positions because I couldn't process it.
Yeah.
Along with my contractions.
Did they ever ask you if you wanted to be medicated?
No. That was in my birth.
That was in a birth plan. Okay.
Yeah, my birth plan. I didn't want to be asked about my pain level.
Okay.
And I did not want any pain medication to be offered to me.
Okay.
If I wanted pain medicine,
you would have
I was going to ask.
Why did you want the pain level question? Like, what is your?
Because I didn't want to have to evaluate that.
Oh,
I didn't have to think like I'm actually at a 10.
I gotcha.
You know, I didn't want to have to
Was it out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably knew it was out of 10, honestly. By the way that you were like breathing, like, yeah.
Yeah.
They probably knew.
And also for people who's never seen a natural labor or like experienced it, when you're breathing at this point during your contractions, you sound like a freaking cow in labor.
That is exactly why I wanted the extra triple.
So I sound like a cow in labor because I was like, and they tell you through all my research that you need to breathe a little deep and allow your like breathing to help push the baby down. And the higher levels of breathing of like, like that kind of stuff, makes you want to tense. And so the deeper and the lower register helps your body relax more. And it helps you to breathe that. So I did sound like a freaking cow with his like foot stuck.
He's like, what is going on in there?
Yeah. So, still contracting, blah, blah, blah. That lasted for a while. I got into the bed around like 6 a.m., I think.
Okay.
And they kept on checking me, which I was okay with. A lot of unmedicated births, they don't want to be checked and to see how far they're dilated. At this point, I was just kind of like, am I almost there? Like, just tell me. And they kept on going back and forth. So they would tell me that I was like an 8 and that they thought my water had broken. But then they were like, did you feel your water break? And I was like, no. Like, would I have? You know, like.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, then we'll wait and check again. And then they would check me again. They'd be like, actually, I think you're at like a 7 and your water hasn't broke.
Are they checking? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's very back and forth. So eventually, I did stand up and started, like getting more like I wanted to push.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they checked me again and they were like, I think you're really only at a 9. You're only at 8. And I was kind of like, I really want to push. Like, I could feel it. I could feel that I wanted to push.
Yeah.
And so at that point, my actual doctor came in because he was at work at that point. I mean, it's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so they were like, are you okay with him breaking your water? And I was
So it wasn't
like,
working.
No, it was
Okay.
And I was at an 8. Or the nurses told me I was at an 8.
Okay.
Or at a 9. They told me I was in a 9. When my doctor came in, he brought my water and told me I was in an 8.
Gotcha.
And it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, seriously? Like, and they had also told me before one time that I was at a 10. So literally,
So you were like
back and forth all the time. So in my mind, after all my research that I was doing, was like, okay, so I'm at like this effacement at this.
Yeah,
No,
like knew from research like where you were supposed to be and like what was supposed to be going on.
Yeah. And so if I felt my body like starting to do stuff, I was like, I'm almost there, you know? And I really wanted to push at 9 centimeters.
Yeah.
Like my body was kind of making me push.
Yeah.
And so they bring my water, whatever. I stand up at this point and I start pushing, like, and there's no stopping. Like my body wanted to push.
Yeah. What was the doctor saying? Nothing?
Hell, he left. And it was like, you got a couple more hours, you're doing great.
And you're like, no, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I was pushing for 45 minutes standing up. It's getting tired. And they checked me while I was standing up and they were like, you're at 10. And like the baby's head is like, fine. Like we can tell it's like there. He was also at like -1. Like he was really far still up inside of me. He was not descending already. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm getting tired of like standing at this point and pushing.
Yeah.
And so Carla, my doula, she got a scarf and like hung it over the side of the bed so I could be like on all fours and like push and pull on that. And so I got out of the bed and I started doing that. And I was able to like rest in between the contractions and the pushing because I was like, it was like laying on the bed.
Yeah.
And like just breathing.
I'm sure you were worn out too, so it's just easier to be like, and then like, let's try again.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't like 1, 2, 3, push. You know, it was just like, okay, I'm breathing. And then here it comes again.
Yeah.
I had to push.
Yeah.
So my nurse told me that she documented that once I got into the bed, I pushed for about another hour.
Golly.
Before he came.
Jeez.
So
There was a lot of
pushing and pushing and pushing. And so she called the doctor at one point and she was like, we see his head. Like, I think you're literally like almost there. So she called the doctor to come in and he was like, I think she's still got it. He left.
They're like, what are you doing, man? Where are you going?
Like at that point, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I was like, I thought I was literally like almost there. And Brantley was like, it's okay. She was like, you're still so close. And one thing about my husband is he is not looking. Like, he has no clue what's going on down there. His head is literally by me the whole time. He was like, I am not looking. I'm just going off of what the nurses are saying. And my nurses kept on telling me, like, you're almost there. Like, you're so close. They told me I was so close for an hour of pushing. And I was like, should his head's out? Like, I didn't understand. I was like, so body parts out?
Like, what are we close to?
And so Brantley's like, you're really close. I thought I was like really close the whole time. And then once the doctor left, I was like, I must not really be that close. And so I was like, that's when the doctor left, I really doubled down on my pushing.
Then I would have given up a long time ago.
I was like, this kid has to come out of me. Like, I'm exhausted at this point. So,
Pain level still at 10 or more than 10?
huh?
Pain level
It wasn't really like pain
anymore?
No.
Or
Once you start pushing, it's like so satisfying to push.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you like still like you like the need to push. It was like blocking out the pain.
It was more pressure.
Oh, well, yeah.
It was just like a straight up like pressure and like this need to push.
All right.
And so if I didn't push, I felt pain. But when I pushed, I didn't feel pain necessarily.
Yeah.
So that point, I started like doubling down. I was like, I'm pushing with the rest of my energy. And then the nurse was like, oh. And then she like goes and like calls the doctor back. Then he kind of took his time coming in and like all the other people. And then because you know there's like 15 people in the room.
Gosh. Yes.
All staring at you. And it's like, I'm just trying to get this baby out of the room.
Honestly, though, you don't realize.
Brantley told me.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you don't realize what's actually going on.
Brantley was like, everybody's here. he was like, the baby's nurse is here. He was like, this person's here. He's like, the doctor's here.
You're like, really?
Like, he was just like giving me play by play. I think he thought like if he told me that, then like I knew I was almost done.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But he was telling me play by play, like who came into the room. And so the doctor came, he literally sat down. I think I pushed like 4 more times and then he came.
Oh, okay.
At that point I was like, thank you, Jesus.
Were you crying?
No.
And then you didn't cry.
No. I was kind of too exhausted to cry. Like like my body wanted to, or like my emotions wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised you didn't like break down. Like, oh my gosh, like because you were like, it's over, like type of thing. Like I've pushed for hours upon hours, and I'm just like done, like cry.
Yeah, I was kind of like, she's here, and like I can breathe, and like all the contraction, all the pressure.
Yeah.
Like as soon as like the baby comes out and you're unmedicated, you don't feel anything.
Really?
Yeah. Like I was like,
that was easy.
It was great.
Forget all the pain.
I forget those like hours in the tub.
Yeah.
So he came, I got to lay down on the bed, and I wanted him to stay on my chest for the golden hour.
Yeah.
The nurse checked him out, and his O2 was a little low. And since his O2 was low, she was like, you can't have the full hour.
I gotcha.
And so she was like, we got to get him over here and get like the rest of it out of him or whatever. So they ended up having to take on, and Brantley went with them. It wasn't anything serious. She was able to do it in the room, so you never had to leave us or whatever.
I gotcha.
But she like stuck the tube down. They got it all out.
Yeah.
No issues. And then they put him back on my chest, and I was able to nurse him the first time during all that. So
I gotcha.
I did kind of get my golden hour shielding out of it from it a little bit. But honestly, once I had him, the adrenaline was still going.
Really?
So like at that point, it wasn't like, oh, let me just pass out of sleep.
Yeah.
Like I was.
You're like so aware. Like
Yes.
You're like, my baby. Where's my baby? You're like,
Yes. I was so aware.
I think you gotta keep your eyes on them. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also like once you held him, and then they just like put him on your chest. You're like, I'm holding my baby.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see him, and so I was like trying to see him. Like, what does he look like? Like I waited 9 months to see what this baby looks like. And I couldn't tell because he was on my chest. And then once they like took him to like, that's when I was like, I can see my baby. So I was kind of happy. Like I can actually see you now. And then I got him back.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then they moved me an hour later, and I was walking.
Yeah.
I had to walk to the bathroom. And, so I was walking about like 45 minutes to an hour after having him.
Pain level there, or just not really feeling it, or
nothing? Just more like my body was exhausted. Like I felt like pain from my body.
Aches.
Yeah, it was aches, but not.
How long did that last? Just like a day? 2?
No, until I got some sleep.
Okay.
It stayed. Because I mean, I'd kind of been up.
Really?
Because I didn't really sleep that whole early labor.
Right.
So I'd been up for like 42 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. Did you keep your placenta?
No.
Did you?
I didn't even look at it. I did see a tub that I was like, I think that's it.
Well, they ask you, or they ask me. They ask you to, and like, I don't know. I didn't look up anything like what to do or like what people do with that thing. Like some people
They
eat it for protein or something, nutrients,
capsules of it.
Yeah. So be warned, like be prepared for that. That's just like what? Why would I? What? That's what I was like. That's what I was like.
I think you even had to sign a paper saying that you released it.
I think so. Yeah, I'm sure. I know, like you want to know.
I don't want it.
That's like a crazy thought.
Yeah. No.
Like, I don't want to know if you have done that. I don't want to know about it. That would change my whole perspective.
And also
of you.
The umbilical cord. Did Nelson cut?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Did Brantley?
No,
because he was scared.
Well, he told me when I was making my birth plan and everything that he wanted to.
Okay.
So I put it on there that the father is supposed to cut it. Well, then the doctor was like, here. And Brantley was like, oh, look at that thing.
He's like, get it away from me.
Later, Brantley was like, why did the doctor look at me like that? And I was like, because I put it on the birth plan that you were supposed to cut it. And he was like, I thought I told you no. And I was like, no, you told me yes. You wanted to cut.
So anyway, I thought Brantley was like tough guy, more tough guy than that. Is he not with that kind of thing?
Not when it comes.
Okay.
When it comes to medical blood, he can't handle it.
Oh.
But if it's like, if it's like somebody's leg got blown off, he'll probably be okay. It's weird.
Yeah. And
like if he cuts himself, like he's not gonna pass out. Or if I cut myself. But if like I was in surgery and he looked at me, he'd pass out. I don't know why. Anyway,
that's funny.
So yeah, so that was kind of my whole birth story.
Really long, painful journey.
Yeah,
of pushing and contractions.
Yeah,
that would be. I would have had to get an epidural a long time. Like whenever you. I think you have to get it when you're a certain
7 years.
Yeah. But I would have had to at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People ask me later, like, did you ever get to a point where like you're like, I should ask for it? Like message. And no, I didn't. But I did tell myself when I was in the tub that baby number 2 was not coming like this. I was like, if I get pregnant again, I'm not having my second child like this. I was like, well, not doing it.
What is the plan for the second one?
Unmedicated.
So the exact same.
It was worth it in the end.
I don't know, man. That doesn't sound worth it.
It was. It really was.
Okay, well, I'm not. Your story does not change my mind. What I want.
Yeah. And I think everybody has to choose like what they want. And why I chose unmedicated was kind of what you were saying in yours. You were present when you had your kids, and I wanted to be present. And I've known my body before I ever got pregnant, whatever, and I've never done good on pain medicines or on like medication, period.
Yeah.
And I'd heard a lot of people having reactions to the epidural.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted was for me to be sick from an epidural or to be like so groggy and acting. And like I didn't get to be present when I had my son.
Yeah. That would have been tough.
Yeah. So that's why I chose unmedicated. And it was worth it. It was worth it.
You can stay on your unmedicated side over there, and I'm medicated. But I will say, for everyone who like has a plan or doesn't have a plan, or just like whatever that is, like stick to that. Yeah, like don't let people persuade you one way helps the other way.
Yeah,
and like for me, like, I didn't want anybody in the room with us. So it was like just me and my husband. So like, and that's what I stuck with. And that's it. Like, some people will be like, that's weird. But like, that's, I don't know. That was just more normal to me and like what I was comfortable with. So whatever your plan is, like, stick with the plan and don't let people like change that. Yeah. Like be like, oh, like, that's not right. I mean, it's nothing is right or wrong. It's just what you want.
Yeah.
And just stick with it.
Yeah.
Don't feel pressured to change.
Don't feel pressure to change. Also, like, the empowerment of labor and pregnancy and stuff. It's not like I'm more empowered that I went unmedicated than you. Like, we still give birth to our sons. We're still just as much mothers.
Right.
And there's kind of like a stigma of like unmedicated moms, like, oh, you just want to show off the way.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I chose it for specific reasons. You know?
I kind of just feel that way. Like, oh man, I'm getting medicated. Like, I'm not as strong as like somebody else.
Yeah.
But then again, like, I knew that like the medicine did help me a lot. So,
and I don't think it has to do necessarily with strength. Like, I think it's like, if it helps you stay in the moment and helps you be the mom that you need to be when your baby comes out,
right,
do that.
Yeah. I don't think if I was unmedicated that I would have been like, okay. I mean, who knows though, but.
Yeah. And I mean, I could have gotten an epidural and then had no reaction or whatever, I think as parents and as moms, like, you just choose what you think is best.
Yeah.
And you listen to your doctors. I mean, you try to do your own research, listen to your doctor.
Or don't do research.
Or don't do research. I would suggest research. Sometimes,
okay.
You can't go down the rabbit hole of like, there's a limit. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go down the rabbit hole and just like, oh, like, everything's going to be bad. Or like, the statistics say this, blah, blah. Like,
yeah, you definitely can get there quick though.
Yes, you can.
So it's just, yeah.
But you can find a lot of good, helpful things with anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Stay on the positive side.
Yeah.
I would say be able to advocate for yourself though, and know what's going on in the process. And I want to do birth classes so my husband could advocate for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to be breathing through contractions.
Right.
And I will say, if anybody is thinking about an unmedicated birth, think about doing it in a tub. Make sure your husband is very in tune with what you want. Like, be specific. Like, I even wrote out encouragements that I wanted him to specifically tell me while I was in labor. I wrote out like 24. He remembered like 6.
Hey,
wow! He kept telling me the same 6 over and over again, which I appreciate.
You're like, switch it up.
But I was like, I gave you more than that. But he was like, I only remember this. But he was very encouraging and like helped me get to the point that I wanted.
Well, if you were if you were medicated, bring Uno cards, because that's what we did. Or like getting cards. Yeah. And I think I had not this time because it was too fast, but last time, since it was longer wait, I think I had like popsicles.
Yeah.
And that was fun. So like,
enjoy it. Yeah.
Bring the card game.
I think it's a very big bonding experience with your husband.
Yeah.
Like, and it needs to be.
Yeah.
It really needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, you really need to have him to be stability.
Yes.
Unmedicated or medicated.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with
that. Make sure your husband knows
the plan.
Or
that you don't have a plan. Make sure he knows that.
Yeah. And tell him like what you need. Which the nurse told me, she was like, I was 3 hours away from having him. And she was like, you're the nicest unmedicated person I've ever.
But you're like
helped give birth to.
Oh.
And I was kind of like, and I was going like the transition at this point. And because I can breathe through my contractions. I was like, okay. Because they would ask me things and I would just be like, no. Or like, do you need this? No. Or, I was just nice. And apparently most women who are at birth are like, shut that up.
I probably would be that.
And like tell husbands to get out of there, don't do anything. And she was like, you're just the nicest, unmedicated person I've ever had.
No, it's just,
I was like, well, I'm not really talking, so maybe that's why.
because you're in so much pain.
I was breathing through the thing. So anyway, so try to be nice during your labor.
And just breathe. Just breathe.
Breathe, but tell your husband what you need beforehand so you don't have to be ugly. Brady never was like, what should I do for you? I told him specifically, this is what I will need, possibly. And he just said,
I'm sure Nelson was just like, what? what am I supposed to do?
Hey,
but he survived.
But he kept you happy. I mean,
That's
y'all
right.
pregnant.
I
Your
lost
first
one.
I
lost everything.
He didn't let you win.
No mercy.
Okay, so you play Uno. Husbands, let your in labor wife win.
Yes, that would be very sweet. I guess then he was like, popsicle?
That sounds like him. But yeah, so definitely have your plan or no plan and stick to it and have good support during your labors.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode and laughing along with us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss next week's episode at Monday at 4 p.m. Until then, keep vibing.